Hey Krishna, can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the 11th, we had completed the 11th chapter of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in the on Friday. So today, what I'm going to do is I am going to recap this chapter, and I know this section of conversation between Rahuguna and Jadabharata is quite technical, and I am sure there will be a lot of questions. And last time also on Friday, there were some unanswered questions. So today's session, if need be, if there are sufficient questions, we will utilize it fully for Q&A and discussion. So please be ready with your questions if you have any. If there are any unanswered questions from the previous sessions, we can take it today. Okay. For now, I will do a recap of this chapter and then we will start. So you all know the storyline. Jadabharata was moving on and the palanquin bearers caught him and engaged him in Raghuna's service, and he was not carrying it properly. So, uh, so Raghuna got angry. He chastised Jadabharata. But Jadabharata responded, "Oh, I don't think that your chastisement is in any way sarcastic, because only if I was the body, it would be sarcastic, but I am not the body. And all this talking about fatigue, thinness, fatness, it all belong to the body and a person who is identifying with the body. But for one who is not identifying with the body, it does not exist." As soon as he hears about this, uh, immediately he falls at the feet of okay, and then he said that okay, so and then you said that you are the master and I am the servant, but is this master servant relationship eternal? If it is eternal, and if you really think that you are the master and I am the servant, then please engage me in your service, tell me how I can serve you. And you said that I am a living dead person. No, I am, my question to you is your body um, is your body alive? Everyone's body is dead. Okay. So you're speaking like this is not very intelligent. And then suddenly Raghuna realized that his mistake, that he did not realize that Jadabharata was a very exalted personality. So he jumped out of the palanquin, fell at his feet, and begged for forgiveness, but then sought some clarification that, sir, you say like this, that you don't feel fatigue. Yes, I do understand I am not this body, I am the soul, but the soul is in touch with the subtle body is in touch with the gross body, and when the gross body experiences the adhyatmic, adhibautik, and the adhidaivic kleshas, it is but natural that due to proximity, the subtle body is also affected, and because of proximity with the subtle body, the soul will also get affected. So, and this is my experience also. When I carry something, I become fatigued. When my family members or friends and anyone whom I have seen, when they engage in some endeavor, it naturally leads to fatigue. So to say that it does not cause you fatigue, how is it possible? Okay. And then you also said that, only, I'm being master, you're being servant is only a temporary, conventional reality. If it is just a temporary conventional reality, are you suggesting that I should completely neglect the temporary conventional reality? According to the temporary conventional reality, I am the king and I have a responsibility to take care of my citizens. And in doing that, I have to correct the citizens. Are you suggesting that all of that is wrong? Did Krishna say, Swakarmanam tam abhyarchya siddhim vindati manava? That those on the Varnashrama system, whether they are Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or Shudras, if they diligently follow their prescribed duties, then they can achieve perfection. Uh, so, why do you trivialize the conventional reality? I am not claiming that the conventional reality is absolute reality. No, I am not doing that. But to completely trivialize conventional reality as if conventional reality does not exist only uh, is borderline Mayavad. Are we suggesting Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya? So, then why you are speaking like this? So, in response to this, Jadabharata said in this chapter, oh, Raguna, you are speaking like a learned man, but you are actually a fool. Why? Because the wise do not speak of the material world by discerning it to be the truth. You are claiming the material world and its objects to be concluding truths by giving the example of pot, sweet rice, etc. But this example is inappropriate. Why is it inappropriate? Because there is actual contact between the fire and the pot, or to be more specific, there is actual contact between the rice and the hot milk. Because in our analogy, the rice was the soul, the hot milk was the subtle body, the pot was the gross body, and the fire was the adhyatmic, adhibautik, and adhidevik kleshas. So he says there is actual contact in the example that you gave. There is actual contact between the rice and the gross body. Sorry, between the rice and the milk. Okay, but there is no real connection between the liberated soul and the body. Of course, there is no real connection. Um, just give me 1 second. There is no real connection even for the conditioned souls with the gross or subtle body, but there is definitely an imagined condition. So this is what in the second canto also we saw. Uh, Atmamayam rite rajan parasyanubhavatmanah na gateta artha sambandha swapna drashturivanjasa. So Shukadeva Goswami says that, my dear King Parikshit Maharaj, there is no real relationship between. So the question that was asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukadeva Goswami was, how does this relationship between spirit soul and material body happen? Soul is spiritual, body is material, both are totally different. How does this relationship happen? Does this relationship happen by chance, or is there a reason? यदृच्छया हेतुना अवतो जानते यथा. Does it happen by chance, or is there a reason to it? You are a very learned person, my dear Shukadeva Goswami. Can you please answer this question? So, in response to this, Shukadeva Goswami said, Atmamaya mrite rajan parasyanubhava gateta artha sambandha. So, my dear Rakshit Maharaj, there is no real relationship between the. So, he says that your question itself is wrong. The question itself is wrong. What you are asking, what is the source of the relationship? But my answer is that there is no real relationship. There is no real relationship. It is only an imagined relationship. Just like a person in a dream imagines himself to be in some danger, being chased by a tiger, etc. That is only in his dream, imagination. It is not real. It is not real. In the same way, the relationship between the body and the soul is only imagined by the conditioned soul, and which is created by this avidya potency of Maya. Okay, but there is no real relationship. Okay, so even for the conditioned souls, there is no real relationship. For the liberated souls, there is not even that imagined relationship. The liberated soul is in a state of wakefulness. He is not in that dreamy state where he is imagining the grass or the subtle body to be the self. Okay. So therefore, this talk about the proximity of the jiva with the grass body, subtle body analogy and all, very sophisticated analogy, very nice. But it is that does not, that analogy does not apply to me. It applies to you. It applies to your wife. It applies to your son. And all the people whom you have observed, it applies to them. It does not apply to me, the liberated soul. But then Rahuguna asks, oh, but the Vedas are filled with. So therefore, Jadabharata is suggesting, therefore, conventional reality is insubstantial for me. It's insubstantial for me. It is very substantial for you, but it is insubstantial for me because I don't deal with conventional reality. But then Raghuna says, fine, no problem. You may not deal with it. But if you see, the Vedas are filled with, talks about conventional reality. Okay. The Vedas are filled with talks about conventional reality. Okay. How do you go to Swarga? What do you do to get this material thing? What do you do to get a child? What do you do to get more wealth? What do you do to avoid bad karma? And all these things. Okay. So why is it? Huh? It's all about, most of it is about living in this material world. Yes, that is true. But discussions on the absolute truth generally do not arise in the Vedas, which is filled with knowledge about proliferation of household life. Okay. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Hmm. This is because most of the people are not qualified for the knowledge of the absolute truth. That's why the Vedas mercifully not wanting to dismiss them. Okay. Uh, okay. So it gives them things about the conventional reality also. So then the question is, then who is qualified for understanding the absolute truth and who is not? He says, that person who by practicing his prescribed duties and other such spiritual practices, if he has come to the conclusion that this material world is not worth pursuing, the material pleasures are not worth pursuing, it is very inferior. I should aspire at least for liberation or escaping this material world. Only such a person is ready to inquire into the absolute truth. And because statistically, that that category of people will be always endangered minority. Okay. So therefore, these Shastras do not bother to spend a vast majority of their portion in describing about transcendental reality. Okay, now that you are enlightening, why is it that people, in spite of being enlightened by devotees on this subject matter, why is it that they continue to engage in material activities? Most of them. Why? That is because the man's mind is being bound by the three modes. Uh, and it continues to engage him in pious and impious activities through the senses. The man's mind is um, hmm, a man's mind is bound by the three modes means rather than being bound by the faith. Okay, when there is no sufficient sukriti, and by that sukriti, when there is no faith in at least the Vedic scriptures or the transcendental part of the Vedic scriptures, either the Nishkama Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, then all, see, one can be conducted by their faith or one can be conducted um, by their swabhava, conditioning. Okay. So we have discussed this many times and you all know this. Right? But still, because we are discussing this point, I will just touch on this topic. Okay. Man's actions and intentions are stimulated by these two stimulating forces. Okay. Man, a man's actions and intentions are stimulated by these two stimulating forces. Okay. One is his swabhava, which stimulates him in the direction of I like it, I will do it. I don't like it, I will not do it. Okay. And it can also be stimulated by his shraddha, faith. This is right, I will do it. This is not right, I will avoid doing it. Okay. Okay. So these are the two stimulating forces. And ordinary people, they oftentimes vacillate between these two. You know, they will end up doing that which is right, and at other times they will end up doing that which they like, even though it may not be the right thing to do. Okay. So these are the two stimulating forces. So now in this material world, the people who are not guided by the Shastric Shraddha, uh, or a faith which tells what is right, what is wrong based on the scriptures, they end up having a Shraddha which is called as Swabhavajam Shraddha. A kind of faith which they develop based on, or a kind of faith or value system which they develop based on their own experience in this material world. So they develop their own understanding of what is right, what is wrong, and which is generally based on their experience in this material world. So that Swabhavajam Shraddha can be, for all practical purposes, taken as good as their Swabhava only. Okay. Even though there seems to be a value system, but that value system has no utility, or very meager utility. So for all practical purposes, we can say that it is Swabhava only. Rather than calling it as Swabhavajam Shraddha, we call it Swabhava. Okay. So so if people do not have sufficient Sukriti to get attracted to the Shastras, then what they are left with is only either their Swabhava or Swabhavajam Shraddha. So that will conduct their lives. Okay. So that is what here it is mentioned as their minds will be conducted by the three modes. The three modes means the three modes in the form of their Swabhava. Okay. So mm, he says that and that will push them into pious and impious activities. So this mind endowed with pious and sinful impressions and attached to sense objects is the cause of transmigration from higher to lower species. And this mind creates unavoidable distress and happiness in due course of time. Then the question is, how can the mind create anything? Mind itself is inanimate. Mind itself is inanimate. How can it create distress and happiness? He says, yes, the mind is inanimate, just like the refrigerator in itself is inanimate. But when electricity is connected to refrigerator, the refrigerator can cool. In the same way, the mind itself is inanimate, but when the mind is embracing the soul, and when the soul identifies with the soul acts as the electricity which powers this refrigerator of mind. Okay. So, by identifying with this mind, the soul can experience happiness or distress. The mind, actually, it is the jiva which is the original cause. But the mind, because of its close proximity with the jiva, becomes an instrument in creating happiness and distress. So, the samsara created by the mind manifests as the practical material world. And this is constantly witnessed by the knower of the field, which is the jiva. Okay. Happiness of the self-realization is also created by the mind. Manayeva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Mind is the cause of bondage and liberation. Bandayai vishayas sango mukyai nirvishayam manaha. When the mind becomes detached from matter, it becomes the cause of liberation. But when the mind is attached to matter, it becomes the cause of bondage. Hmm. The question is, how can one mind be the cause of two different states, that is bondage and liberation? He says, look, when the mind has, compare the mind to a lamp. Okay. And if you put in a lamp a charred wick, a wick which has already been burnt, okay, you put it and try to light it, it will give only smoke. Whereas if you put a ghee laden wick in that lamp and light it, it will give bright light. So, in the same way, when the mind becomes the reservoir of only material vasanas, it gives only smoke in the form of samsara. But when the mind is endowed with the ghee laden wick of spiritual impressions, it generates rati towards the Supreme Lord, attraction towards the Supreme Lord. Okay, like that. So he says, uh, just as the lamp with a charred wick displays a smoky flame, and with a fresh ghee laden wick displays a bright flame, the mind, bound by the gunas, takes shelter of many conditions or transformations, and at another time enjoys the taste of the Lord's sweetness. Now, the question is, what do you mean by many conditions of transformations of the mind? What are the many conditions? The mind has the tendency to experience sound, form, touch, etc. And the mind accomplishes these through the five karmendriyas, the five jnanendriyas, the ahankara, all these things. So these are called the 11 transformations of the mind. Okay. And what is the sense objects of the ahankara? Ahankara has two sense objects, possessiveness of objects, which is mamakar, and identification with the body, which is ahankar. Okay. But he says, but there are not just 11 transformations of the mind. Due to variety in terms of dravya, swabhava, ashaya, or antakarana, karma, kala, etc., these 11 transformations become unlimited transformations. And they become unlimited not by their own strength or combined strength. They become unlimited by the power of the super soul. Okay. Okay. Then he says, uh, then the point is, okay, you have explained how the conditioned soul suffers samsara being embraced by the mind. Now, can you tell me how does the liberated soul respond to the transformations of the mind? Okay. A conditioned soul responds to the transformations of the mind by getting entangled in samsara. How does the liberated soul respond to the transformations of the mind? So he says, the liberated soul impartially sees the transformations of the mind, which performs actions opposed to the Lord. He says, oh, it is the mind, material mind, which is pushing the soul in this direction. But I am not the mind. I am not the mind. He understands that. So he just acts as an observer. Uh, he just acts as an observer and not as a participant. Uh, he is just an observer. He does not identify with those transformations and enjoy them. The transformations of the mind are sometimes visible and sometimes not. So then the question is, okay, I understand that the conditioned soul absorbs himself in the conventional world of samsara. In what does the liberated jiva absorb himself? He says, oh, he absorbs himself in the Lord of Vaikuntha. That is the object of meditation of the liberated soul. And then he says, just as the air enters all moving and stationary beings as prana and controls them, in the same way, Lord Vasudeva pervades everything in the form of Paramatma and controls them. Okay. So then the question is, okay, I understand that the liberated soul is free of samsara as he is free of ignorance and he eternally has knowledge in the form of thinking of the Lord. When does the conditioned soul wander in the samsara? Liberated soul, I understood, but till when does the uh, conditioned soul, till when he has to wander in samsara? The answer is as long as the jiva does not know the truth about the Lord, he must wander in this samsara. Which means as long as he does not come in touch with devotees, because without bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha, only by bhakta, only by bhakti one can understand Krishna, and how one can get bhakti only by the association of devotees. So unless one uh, one is fortunate enough to receive the association of devotees, it is not possible. Okay. Now, how to identify a person who has acquired that knowledge? So, such a person has destroyed Maya and is free of ignorance by appearance of knowledge and conquering all the six senses. These are the symptoms. Then the next question is, how does one know perfectly that Maya is removed and that the knowledge of the truth of the Lord has appeared? Telltale symptoms. How do you know for sure that in this person Maya is gone and the knowledge of the absolute truth has manifested? So the symptom is that the mind is no longer attached to the sense objects. That is the symptom. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jihva vegam, udaropastha vegam. Etan veganyo vishaheta dhiraha. Sarvanapi mam prithivimscha sishyat. Okay. So then he says, so now how to conquer this mind and take its attachment from sense objects away? Now, how to conquer this mind? So he says, mind can be conquered only by neglecting it. Mind can be conquered only by neglecting it. But to neglect the mind, uh, as Arjuna says, um, what is that? Vayoriva sudushkaram. What is the beginning of that verse? What is the beginning of that verse? Vayoriva sudushkaram. Chanchalam hi manak Krishna pramati balavad dridam. Tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. Right? Chanchalam hi manak Krishna. The mind is very, very hard. So if you say that, you know, to conquer the influence of the mind, which makes one stay in this world of samsara, the best way is to neglect. Now, how do I neglect? Mind is very powerful. Where do I get the strength to neglect the mind? He says, three ways. Attentive, by being attentive. Every moment, be aware that mind can push you in the wrong direction. Okay. Be attentive. And attention, be attentive has many, many facets to it. Attentive also means under what external circumstances the mind is most prone to get attached. So avoid those. Okay. And being mentally prepared. So being attentive has many, many aspects. Being attentive has many, many aspects. So then the second is by possessing the weapon of bhakti. By possessing the weapon of bhakti. Because bhakti paresha anubhavo viraktir anyatra chesha trikayaka kala. So by progressing on the path of bhakti, one develops that virakti, and by that virakti, when virakti is there or detachment is there, automatically to neglect the mind becomes easy. And the third is possessing the mantra given by the guru. So in this, through these three methods, one can neglect the mind, and it is by neglecting the mind one can conquer the mind. So this is where we ended our discussion on Friday. As I promised, today's session, the rest of the session, we still have about 1 hour time. We will utilize this 1 hour for questions if there are questions. If we exhaust the questions, then we will move on to the next chapter. There are some questions already in the chat box. We will take that. A mandatory requirement for a personal guru or guide required for a sadhaka to correctly understand spiritual wisdom, especially instructive sections, since adhikar context goes missing in surface level literal reading of these texts. Mandatory requirement for a personal guru or guide required for a sadhaka to correctly understand the scriptural wisdom, especially instructive sections. I am, of course, two devotees have said true, very true, but somehow maybe my mind is dull. I am not able to understand whether it is a question, comment, what, I don't know. Can you, Govind Hari Prabhu, can you please tell me what you exactly mean? I am not able to understand. Is that a comment question? I am not able to understand.
Hare Krishna. No, that was just a statement, bro. Just a comment.
Yeah, but I didn't understand the comment also. Can you please elaborate?
Yes, Prabhuji, that while the king thinks this applies to the Bharatji, but that's not the right understanding from his vantage point.
Uh,
You know,
uh-huh.
this is reality, but that's
Yeah.
not the case. And
Yeah.
so when we read so many places, like even this conversation, if we were to take it and I were to apply it for my life, that this is all so and so and so and so,
Hmm.
these are rules that don't apply to me, and
Yeah.
I am chasing them or applying them, I'm only going to confuse myself or frustrate myself and
Yeah.
disappoint myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. So we should know, therefore, the understanding of the adhikar and uh, practice according to adhikar is very, very critical. Otherwise, there are unlimited instructions in the Vedic scriptures, and they can be most bewildering. Uh, what is that? What is that instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to uh, who is that? Bahushastra,
Bahushastra
Chitta,
Bahuvakya Chitta na kari, something like
Chitta
that is there.
Brahmahai. Yeah,
Chitta Brahma.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So otherwise, there are unlimited number of scriptures, unlimited number of statements. It can only bewilder the person. Yeah, true. Thank you for
I
this.
think one level of confusion is that perhaps I just don't know how to apply it. The understanding that whether it is relevant for me is not even in the context. Maybe I just don't know how to apply it.
Yeah.
People think all this, all these renunciation instructions, you
Hmm.
know, or they think, oh, they don't apply to me at all. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is only for the temple residents. You know,
Hmm.
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. So that's the point. That is why guidance is very crucial. Both scriptural guidance and guidance from directly from the scriptures, and even more crucial is guidance of the scriptures as given by our uh, acharyas, as explained by our acharyas. That is even more crucial. Uh, and the third thing is, even that which is described by our acharyas, some mature senior devotees, how it actually applies to me in today's day and age. Uh, so these three levels of guidance is very important. Uh, first is of course most crucial, because the most crucial is it should come from the shastras themselves. The second is uh, once the first is taken care, then the second becomes also very, very crucial, which is it is not just the scriptures, but the scriptures as seen by our acharyas. Okay. As seen by our acharyas. That is even more crucial. And the third thing is that, okay, as seen by our acharyas, but not just that, uh, how does it apply to me in today's day and age? For that, we need practical guidance from mature devotees. Uh, so that is also very, very crucial. So all three levels we need to have. That is very important.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So there are more questions in the chat box. We will take um, question on Bilomangal Thakur. Oh, okay. He is a perfected devotee and still he was attracted to his Swabhava. Well, uh, I will take one point at a time. Was he a completely perfected soul at the time when he got attracted to Chintamani the prostitute? Probably not. Okay. And unless he is a Nitya Siddha who is playing the role of a Sadhana Siddha, that could be the case. Okay. Otherwise, he was just, we should see that he was progressing and had not completely progressed. Therefore, when he was going towards Vrindavan, he still got attracted to that lady. And then gradually he became more and more purified. That is how we should see. For conditioned souls, Swabhava and Shraddha are in line with their Swabhava is in line with the Shraddha, which that is what Shraddha, by Shraddha we mean the value system. For sadhakas, only Shraddha is in line with the value system, but Swabhava is being fixed by that bhakti, yeah, gradually. And for perfected devotees, both Swabhava and Shraddha are in line with the value system, which is bhakti. So for perfected devotee like him, why was he still attracted? He was not, at least either from a pastime perspective or actual reality, he was, he was, he should be considered as a gradually progressing sadhaka only. Okay. Or it is quite possible that it was orchestrated by the Supreme Lord also. Okay. Both are possibilities, but we do not know for sure. I don't know for sure. Maybe there could be some explanation by some of the acharyas as to what exactly was the case. What was the third point of controlling the mind? The third point means the mantra given by the guru. The mantra given by the guru. Okay, which means one should mantra here does not just refer to the mantra. Mantra refers to the mantra, and mantra also refers to the the spiritual practices given by the guru. Okay, like that. In one of the japa codes, it is mentioned, embrace the holy name with your mind. What exactly does this mean and how to do it? Embrace, see, the nature of mind is to get attracted to attractive things. So if you somehow try to convince the mind that uh, that holy name is very attractive, then the mind will choose to embrace it. So now, how do we do it? There are many ways of doing it. One thing is, take association of those devotees who have great taste for the holy name, and by that slowly we will also get some taste. Then the mind will be willing to embrace the holy name, like that. How to balance out conventional and ultimate realities? Because our state in this world necessitates that at least until we attain perfection, it applies to every stage and aspect of life. Uh, Shamsundar Prabhu, I wish that we have a conversation on this. So I will unmute you after I take questions from Shivakumar Prabhu and Keshav Priya Mataji, and then you you give some examples and explain, and then we will discuss. Otherwise, it will become too abstract. Okay. In Srila Prabhupada's translation of verse 10, uh, this 11th function of the mind is called false ego. According to some philosophers, this is the 12th function, and its field of activity is the body. Couldn't understand this statement. Like sometimes people say ahankar is 11, but he says ahankar is not just ahankar. Ahankar has two aspects. One is ahankar and mamakar. So if you take it as only one, then that is 11. If you take it as two, then that is 12. So if you take it as two, then you have the body, which is the object for the ahankar, and the objects connected to the body, people connected to the body, etc. That becomes mamakar. Me and mine, like that. In Srila Prabhupada's purport of verse 12, he says, this ordinary living beings is of two types, the Nitya Baddha or the Nitya Mukta. One is eternally conditioned and the other is eternally liberated. How we are eternally conditioned? Is it not that we are eternally Lord's servants? I think we have discussed this many, 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 many times, but I will repeat it again. Are we eternally servants of Krishna? Yes, in the sense that we have the eternal potential to be servants of Krishna. Have we been eternally serving Krishna? No. Okay. Not necessarily. Okay. But in the material world, the living entities are eternal servants in the sense they have the eternal potential to serve Krishna. They have the eternal potential to serve Krishna. But they have not necessarily been eternally serving Krishna. Okay. Why possessiveness is considered as separate? It's a part of mind's function only. Yeah, it's a part of mind's function. Depends on how you take the mind. If you take the mind as the total antakarana as one unit, uh, mm, then yes, or if you take exclusively the mind element only of the antakarana, then that possessiveness is a function of the false ego. But here we are talking about, when we say mind, we are talking about the whole unit, not just the whole antakarana, mana, chitta, mana, buddhi, and ahankar, all four of them. Okay, yes, Shiv Kumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavad Pranams, Prabhu.
And Prabhu.
Prabhu, I'm starting with the follow-up question from the prayer session, Prabhu. I'm sorry, I hope I am not stretching this, but I thought it's very important that I kind of get it clarified. Although I have the answer from my own experience, Prabhu, on this topic that I'm trying to touch upon in terms of this emotions coming from the sense objects in the material confines, and there is no love in it, Prabhu. Although I do have personal experience on that, where I have answer. I don't want to generalize my experience in terms of understanding the things as is. So and so I am asking more questions on that, Prabhu. So with that background, so when we talk about this sense gratification,
No,
right?
Prabhu, before you continue on this,
Huh.
I wish that you first define love and then we will take the discussion further.
And that is also one of my question, Prabhu.
No, Prabhu, because that is a very foundational thing.
Yes,
Only if we have a common definition of love, we can take this discussion further.
correct,
Otherwise,
Prabhu.
you have a different understanding of love, I have a different understanding of
Correct,
love,
correct,
and then we are
correct.
having a conversation.
Correct, Prabhu. That's maybe that is also one of my question, Prabhu. I don't think I have a very clear definition of it. That's also probably one of the question. And if you think we have to start from there, maybe we can do that also, Prabhu.
Of course,
Yeah,
we have to first start from there.
yeah.
When you say
Mm.
love, what do you mean by it?
Mm. Okay. So that I don't put myself first. My desire, what I wish to have, what I wish to experience, I take it back and I put the other person who I have the relationship first, and I would like to endeavor do something for the other person who I have love for, and please him, and for his pleasure I will do something. That's the some vague understanding I have, Prabhu. If I have to put this in the words.
Okay, if that is what, and
Hmm.
okay, that is fine. If that is love, that is there in the material world.
Okay.
Okay,
Hmm.
that is there in the material world.
Okay.
That is very much there in the material world.
Okay.
That is there
Hmm.
with the wrong identification of the self.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
there is selflessness in this material world,
Hmm.
without a doubt.
Hmm.
There is selflessness in this material world with the wrong identification of the self.
Hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
in the spiritual world,
Hmm.
that selflessness is there with the right identification of the self.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, as you asked, is there no selfless love in a mother's relationship with the child?
Hmm.
Yes, it can be there. I won't say all mothers may essentially fall in this category always.
Hmm.
But yes, definitely in a mother's love, selflessness is definitely there.
Hmm.
But that selflessness is with the wrong identification of the self.
Okay. Okay. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So therefore, is that selflessness good? Yes. Selflessness of any type is good, and
Hmm.
it has the capacity to nourish the heart
Hmm.
and keep one very much satisfied.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
But selflessness, expression or experience of selflessness
Hmm.
with the wrong identification of self
Hmm.
will keep one satisfied on a very low level.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But experience of selflessness
Hmm.
of with the right identification of the self will
Hmm.
keep one satisfied in a very high level.
Hmm.
So it depends on, so definitely selfless love has a very powerful potency,
Hmm.
whether it is with the right understanding of the self or the wrong understanding of the self.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So selfless love with the wrong understanding of the self is very much existent in this material world. And it definitely has a capacity to greatly satisfy the heart, both to the both for the giver and for the recipient.
Okay, okay, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, when we say the wrong identification, basically we are saying identifying the body as the self, right, Prabhu, and versus identifying the self as the spirit, soul, and servant of Krishna.
Correct.
Okay, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, thanks, Prabhu. Thank you for this clarification. I think we touched upon this some time back also. Now that I'm getting reminded of this. So, just for some clarification, Prabhu, this is where I am trying to still pick up some example in this world where maybe I have a wrong perspective that it seems that the transaction exchange is going beyond the confines of the body. Maybe you can clarify it, validate this. Let's say, take this case of example, Prabhu, Mother Teresa. The service that she was trying to do to the humanity, like for example, in terms of even touching the people who are afflicted with leprosy and things like that. Now, when we say that is also on the platform of bodily consumption, uh, bodily
I
consumption,
didn't say.
does
I
that?
didn't say.
Okay. Yes, yes, Prabhu.
I
Go on.
didn't say. What I will say is I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very likely that she was on a spiritual platform.
Mm.
But I don't know for sure. But even on a material platform, do you think that if someone knows that the other person has a contagious disease which can afflict you, uh, like for example, do you think a child is afflicted with a contagious disease?
Mm.
Do you think a very loving mother will still touch him and serve him?
Uh, um, I think it's a very tricky question, Prabhu. Very
I
subjective.
said very loving mother, a very loving mother. Do
Very
you
loving.
think she will touch him and serve him if the need is there for the child?
Uh, I think she would, Prabhu, is what I would say. She would.
Of course.
Mm.
That is why I clarified a very loving mother.
Mm.
Definitely.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
So now, do you then you mean to say that the mother's service transcends the confines of the body and it is on the spiritual platform?
Mm. I don't think we can say, Prabhu. There is still the
You cannot
identity.
say.
Mm.
So the same point.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
So in the case of Mother Teresa, you gave the example.
Mm.
It is quite possible
Mm.
that she was doing all of this
Mm.
with a proper, perfect understanding of bhakti, and she was doing it on the platform of spirituality.
Mm.
It is very like because I have read some of her writings.
Mm.
Just when she was leaving, I think
Prabhu,
she was
Prabhu,
from.
sorry. Can you just
Uh,
repeat the last few lines statements, Prabhu? Your voice was feeble and it went down. Just last
now
one.
is it better?
Now it's better,
Now
right?
is it better?
Yeah. Now it's better.
Yeah. So because I have read some of her writing,
Mm. Mm.
especially the day when she was leaving her Albania, her own country, and she wrote something. She was sitting on the ship to India. She did not even know where the ship was going.
Mm.
She just went on. She left for the missionary work, and
Mm.
she wrote something which was very personal in her
Mm.
own diary
Mm.
to Jesus Christ.
Mm.
And if you remove the cultural elements of her writing
Mm.
and
Mm.
take the essence of what she wrote,
Mm.
it sounds something like which, like an Narottam Thakur's bhajan.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
So it is quite possible that very, very spiritually evolved people could have been there in other religions, actually.
Mm. Mm.
So,
Mm.
therefore, but having said that,
Mm.
everyone who serves humanity in that particular way, selfless way,
Mm.
have they necessarily, in their own perception, transcended the bodily platform?
Mm.
Probably not. But
Okay.
in this particular case, did she transcend? Quite possible.
Okay. Okay. Mm.
Possible. So, but I cannot tell that with the act itself, because Prabhupada oftentimes uses this terminology of extended sense gratification. Extended sense gratification, Prabhupada uses terminology. What does this mean? Okay. Not just only, uh, uh, not just you are interested in your own pleasure, but you want to extend it to your family members.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
That is extended. And some other people may want to extend not just to the family members, but to their own community.
Yes, Prabhu.
And someone wants to extend it not just to their own community, but to their own country. And someone wants to extend it not just to their own country, but to the whole of humanity. And someone does not want to extend it only to humanity. Someone wants to extend it to all animals and plants also.
Okay.
With all these extensions, if it is extended with the understanding that the self is the body, okay, then it is material. Otherwise, someone taking care of his own body, although it might seem selfish, but that taking care of the body could be for the purpose of preparing it to perform devotional service nicely. That might seem like a very selfish act, but that selfish act may be with the right understanding of the self. But these seemingly very, very extended forms of services to the humanity, to the nationality, etc., they can be extended forms of sense gratification. When I say sense gratification, it means acting on the platform of the body. So, therefore, you cannot say by the manifestation of selfless action or selfish action itself, one cannot say. Like for example, you can have have the right understanding of the self.
Prabhu, your voice is feeble, Prabhu. It is going very low, Prabhu.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
loud.
just let me check. Okay. Now let me change my earbud and then let me speak now. Now is it better?
Yes, Prabhu, better.
Haribol.
Little feeble.
Haribol.
Little feeble, going low.
Feeble? Okay, just give me 1 second. I will just disconnect and reconnect. Just give me 1 second. Is my voice audible now?
Yes, Prabhu, better.
Okay. So now I'm going to move away from my laptop. Is this audible now?
Yes, it is audible.
Okay. So, yeah. So the point is that you from the activity itself, you cannot. So, yeah, I was giving the example of a sadhaka. You can have a sadhaka who has at least the understanding of the difference between body and soul, but he has a very selfish conditioning. Okay. The conditioning is on the bodily platform. Okay. And that bodily platform also, it is a very selfish conditioning. Okay. So when you see his actions, he may act in a very selfish way,
mm,
Okay.
mm,
But that selfish actions are born out of his material conditioning,
mm,
material bodily conditioning.
mm, mm,
Whereas you can have a very, very selfless person
mm,
who does not have any understanding of the soul,
mm,
but
mm,
he has a very, very selfless body level, selfless conditioning.
mm, mm, mm,
So,
mm,
so therefore, from the actions,
mm,
I am giving this extreme examples just to indicate
mm,
that actions in themselves cannot necessarily communicate whether that action has transcended the bodily platform or
mm,
it is very much within the bodily platform
mm,
uh, only. So that we do not know, we cannot tell for sure unless we know the person a little bit more deeply.
mm, 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 mm. Okay, okay. Yes, Prabhu, that is clear. Prabhu. That is clear. Mm. So, yes, Prabhu. So, one next question, Prabhu. One more question. On the three modes we talked about a little bit last session also, um, uh, the means through which we kind of do the devotional service and the objects that are involved in the devotional service, Prabhu. So, on
Yeah,
that, like let's take the case of Prasadam, Prabhu. Prasadam, we know conceptually it's spiritual.
yeah.
Now, but what I'm struggling to understand is now the prasadam I can cook it in sattvic mode or rajasic mode, or it can even be tamasic mode if that's the mode in which the devotee is situated.
Hmm.
But if we say at the same time prasadam is spiritual, is it
Hmm.
not that the content by itself has to be in one of these three modes as far as we are in this material world, confines of this material world? Or how do I understand at my level that it is actually transcending the modes?
Well, uh, yeah, it is quite possible that if you make something very spicy, just because we offer it to the Supreme Lord, it does not mean that the effect of that spice will not be there in the body.
Hmm,
Okay.
hmm,
So that will definitely be there in the body.
hmm,
But on top of that, if a devotee with sincere devotion
hmm,
has cooked it and offered it
hmm,
to the Supreme Lord,
hmm,
the transcendental benefit of that prasadam will
hmm.
definitely be there in the one who is eating it.
Okay.
The consciousness will become cleansed.
Okay. Hmm,
Okay.
hmm,
And also it depends on
hmm,
for example, I'm taking this example of spice level. Okay.
hmm, hmm,
So the spice level also, if you take, if you if you see the Westerners who come to
hmm,
India,
hmm,
like, they are used to eating zero spice food, many
hmm,
of them.
hmm, hmm,
That's how they grew up.
hmm, hmm.
So something which you may call as optimal spice also is extraordinarily spicy for them.
Yes. Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Okay.
Got
What we
it.
see as optimal spice.
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
Uh,
hmm, hmm,
So now, if you see like that, so
hmm,
you may have a Western devotee
hmm,
cooking very bland sattvic food,
hmm,
uh, but not offering with so much devotion.
hmm, hmm,
Okay.
hmm,
And you can have a person, a very wonderful devotee from
hmm,
Guntur,
hmm, hmm.
uh, you know, Andhra Pradesh, where they eat extraordinary levels of spice.
Hmm.
But according to their standards, he cooks a very sattvic food. But
Okay.
that sattvic food is unbearably spicy for this Western devotee. So
Hmm,
now, like, this Guntur devotee may offer it with extraordinary levels of devotion.
hmm, hmm, hmm,
Okay.
hmm.
So I am not actually relativizing everything,
Okay, got it, Prabhu. Mm-hmm.
but you cannot actually reject the relative reality of this world also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Beautiful.
So that's the
Mm.
point.
Okay, thank you so much, Prabhu. This is brilliant, beautiful. I'll relish by listening few times. Thank you, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, one last question, Prabhu, from my end. Now, we talked about this conditioning very extensively, and we do it on a daily basis also. But the challenge that I see, Prabhu, in my experience, if I see someone who has paralysis, uh, who on a leg or on one side paralytic. I it's natural that we get compassion and we don't
Yeah.
expect that person to walk fast or run fast or if we have to go somewhere with him.
Yeah.
There is compassion that is immediately triggered, acknowledged of his state when we
Yeah.
look at the physical condition of it. But when
Yeah.
it comes to the condition of the mind, it does not trigger compassion.
Hmm.
Uh, Rather, in my if there is inconvenience in the exchange of with that person, knowing that it is the conditioning of the mind, still it only creates frustration because there is somewhere in the back of the mind, deep in the mind, there is this thought that he can overcome that, and he is not taking diligent efforts to overcome that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, I'm also making this statement knowing that I myself, how I struggle with my own conditioning.
Hmm.
There is still
Yeah.
this thought I'm not able to overcome, Prabhu. So how can we look at this?
I have the same problem.
Mm,
So, but the point is that I think many of us face this problem.
mm,
Uh,
mm,
So, like oftentimes they say that when we want to deal with ourselves, we become lawyers, and when we want to deal with others, we become judges. Uh,
yeah.
So we want to defend our own conditioning by telling, "Hey, it's conditioning. You know what? Everyone has conditioning. Everyone is conditioned
Mm,
like that." But
mm,
when we want to deal with others,
mm,
we want to deal with them
mm,
as if
mm,
they have no hope, as if they are very deliberately doing
mm,
like that.
mm,
This is very natural human tendency.
mm,
I think first thing is to recognize
mm,
that yes, I have this problem, and
mm,
second thing is what we feed in our mind.
mm,
How do you process this observation?
mm,
Okay,
mm,
what kind of filters that you put before you feed that thing into our mind? Okay,
mm, mm,
so that is very important. Uh,
mm, mm,
so the first filter that we have to put is uh, it is just an incompatibility of my conditioning with the other person's conditioning.
mm, mm, mm,
This is
mm,
easier said than done.
mm,
This
mm,
is easier said than done. I also struggled very much to do it,
mm,
but this is the right thing to do.
mm,
Okay,
mm,
the very fact that many other people are very very compatible with him, but I am not able to be compatible,
mm,
means I have a problem too.
mm, mm,
I have intolerance to certain things.
mm, mm, mm,
Okay. I
mm,
have intolerance to certain things.
mm,
That is why I am not able to tolerate.
mm,
Of course, as I said, this is easier said than done, but we have to do it.
mm,
Uh, yeah. And the second thing is, just like bhakti has the potential to
mm,
cure me,
mm,
then the same bhakti has the potential to cure that person also.
mm, mm, mm,
Okay. And
mm,
the third filter that we have to put is by practicing of bhakti, he will overcome his conditioning and he will progress. But because of judging him and criticizing him,
mm,
my bhakti will become compromised.
mm, mm, mm,
Okay.
mm,
These are some of the filters that we can put
mm,
before that thing enters the mind.
mm,
Uh, before that sensory perception of another devotee's faults
mm,
enters our mind, we
mm,
can allow it to pass through these filters and
mm,
then enter the mind.
mm, mm,
Then it becomes, of course, as I said, this
mm,
is easier said than done. There
mm,
has to be a very conscious, very concerted effort to do
mm,
that. And
mm,
in order to put that effort, we have to consciously understand the
mm,
problems, the practical problems in our spiritual life, which can come due to fault finding and criticism.
mm, mm,
So
mm,
when we are very clear about it,
mm,
then it will give us the strength to make the concerted effort. And when we do that concerted effort,
mm,
then it is possible.
mm, mm, mm. Okay, okay. Sure, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I just wanted to take 1 minute, Prabhu, to kind of express my gratitude. Last few sessions, Prabhu, some of the questions that I had and some of the answers that I received, those are truly outstanding, inspiring, and very deep. I have not come across such answers in my very, very, very short spiritual seeking in past 10 years, Prabhu, in any of the books or any of the forums. I'm very grateful to have received those answers from these sessions. And I'm sure those will be very instrumental for my progress for my survival in the practice of bhakti. Prabhu, thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. As I said, please don't be under the misconception that just because I give an answer, I am able to practice them. I have my own struggles, and some of my struggles are very pathetic struggles. So, but having said that, I am sharing them. Whatever I know, whatever I understand is the right thing. So just because I am not able to practice, I cannot not share what is the right thing to do based on my understanding. So, if I am by anyways uh, giving you a kind of uh, indication that I am following whatever or I am able to follow whatever I'm speaking in this class, I am very sorry. I have to clarify that I have my own struggles. It's not that I am able to follow whatever I share here. Uh, because if I had myself practiced all these principles and then shared, then once I share, it would have a much more deeper impact. It would have a much more deeper impact. Uh, I struggle and I repent and I take my own vows that next time I will have to make a very concerted effort to practice it. But then after some time I again fail. But then I again try to get up and try to apply it. So that's my protocol. That's what I follow. Uh, uh, so if I am giving you an indication that just because I am speaking it, I am giving these answers, I am automatically following it. I apologize. I am sorry for giving such a wrong intimation to you. I have my own struggles, and I am trying to improve. That's the reality. So please be aware of that. Yes, Keshav Priyamataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranams. It's really a great fortune to be in this morning discussion, Prabhuji. Now you gave a disclaimer that you are not following. Whether you're following or not, that instruction really, it really means a lot to all of us, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my question today is, you spoke about Swabhajavam Shraddha, Prabhuji. So
Yeah,
in that you said, unless someone gets Shukriti to accept Shastra, they will be working on this Shraddha only,
yeah,
Prabhuji. So
yeah.
in that, Prabhuji, you bring demigod worship also there only, na Prabhuji, if I am right?
Well, demigod worship is not a recommendation of the Shastra. It is just an
Hmm.
allowance of the Shastra.
Hmm.
Uh, the Shastras allow
Hmm.
demigod worship, understanding that it is quite natural that some people will be attracted to them.
Hmm.
So it is not a recommendation of the Shastra. So
Hmm.
worshipping demigods or the other, it comes under Swabhavajam Shraddha only. This word, Swabhavajam Shraddha, is directly from the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita,
Hmm.
where
Hmm. Hmm.
Krishna says, Trivida bhavati shraddha dehinam sa swabhavaja satviki rajasi chaiva tamasi cheti tam shruno. He says that understand, O Arjuna, that there are uh, mm, because Arjuna has what is that verse? Arjuna asks that yes, Shastra vidhim utsrijya वर्तते
Um,
श्रद्धयान्वितः तेषां निष्ठा तु का कृष्ण सत्वमाहो रजस्तमा. So he asks that, but Krishna, not everyone, because in the previous chapter Krishna said, yes, Shastra vidhim utsrijya vartate kamakaratah na
hmm.
siddhim avapnoti na sukam na param gatim. He says that one who rejects the scriptural injunctions and acts whimsically, he is there is no perfection for him. In fact, he is an asura, he says.
Hmm.
But Arjuna says, but Krishna, not everyone who does not accept the complete Shastric conclusions are asuras. There are people who are
Hmm.
Shastra Vidhim Utsrajya, but Vartate Shraddhayanvita. Uh,
Hmm.
they act with some kind of faith,
Hmm.
even though that faith may not be guided by Shastras, but definitely they are not Kamakarata. They are not like completely
Hmm.
whimsical. Okay, they are they are seen to be acting according to some faith. So what kind of faith is that? Arjuna asks. And Krishna responds to that by saying that Trivida Bhavati Shraddha Dehinam Sa Swabhavaja Satviki Rajasi Taiva Tamasi Cheti Tam Shruno. He says that Arjuna, there are three types of Shraddha which are not born, three flavors of Shraddha which are not born out of the Shastric conclusions. They are born out of one's own swabhava. One's own swabhava means one's own experience in this material world. By that, whatever impressions one has assimilated. He calls it as swabhavajam shraddha. A kind of faith which is born out of one's own swabhava. And he says there are three types in it, which are satviki, rajasi, tamasi. And then he says, yajante satvika devan, yaksha rakshamsi rajasan, pretan bhutaganan chanye yajante tamasa jana. He says that of these three categories of people who have swabhavajam shraddha, he says those whose swabhava is predominantly in sattva, they are seen to worship the demigods. Those who are predominantly in the mode of passion, they are seen to worship yakshas and rakshasas. And those who are predominantly in tamoguni swabhava, they are seen to worship pretas and bhutaganas, like that. So in that sense, if you see, worship of the demigods also is actually the prerna, the impetus to worship the demigods does not come from Shastras.
Oh.
Okay. But the Shastras may identify that you have this impetus to worship the Devatas, and they may give some guidelines as to how to worship Devatas. So just because there are some Shastras which tell you how to worship the Devatas does not mean that they recommend that you worship the Devatas. Okay.
So you
And
mean
similar
that
Shastras are also there which talk about worshipping yakshas, bhutaganas, or pretas, all of them. There are Shastras which talk about worshipping Kuvera. Kuvera is one of the yakshas. Okay. So, at least I know this for sure, because one of my relative, even though born and brought up in a Sri Vaishnava family, because of the great attraction for wealth, they worship Kuvera, at least as a part of their, of course, they worship Vishnu also, but they, every time and again, they do certain things to worship Kuvera also. So like that, it is there.
yeah. So you mean to say that Shukriti for accepting Shastra, you mean that proper Shastric conclusion, that you mean, Prabhuji, then? Yes,
Yeah.
these people also follow Shastra for at least, I mean, now I understood, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, while explaining lastly what you said to Shukma Prabhu, you said, yeah, I am not following, I am not pure. That is why if I am pure, if I say once, people can understand, but they're not understanding. Like that you said, no, Prabhuji. Is that
Yeah.
what you told the last
Yeah.
week?
Yeah.
Then all our Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, all Acharyas, they are following what they say, I mean, the proper thing, Prabhuji. But even their words, if that is the point, then all of us should have become a pure devotee by now, Prabhuji. We are daily reading them, their books.
Yeah.
Then there is
No,
something on our side also, no,
yeah,
Prabhuji,
true.
that
I'm
you are
not denying
telling,
that.
you're
I'm not
telling
denying
correctly,
that.
but we are not following it, Prabhuji. That's what
No,
I
I agree with this point. But even though I spoke it in a very extreme sense, but what I really meant is the more it is coming from a realized person, the deeper the impact it will have. That is the point. Okay.
But I am not, that's what I am also telling Prabhuji. We are reading Shoshan Thakur morning, we are reading Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, we are hearing our
Yeah.
Guru Maharaj and elevated
Yeah.
devotees. But still, I am struggling on my own level only, na Prabhuji.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
am
that
not
I am not
denying that
hearing.
fact. I am not denying that fact. But
Mhm.
if you are reading or hearing from even less empowered people, probably your struggles would be even more.
Oh,
Yeah. So you have to compare
oh,
with what it would have been
oh.
with. So the very fact that you think you are struggling now,
Oh.
but if you had heard from uh, people who are even less empowered, less
Mhm.
pure, then the struggle would be even more. Okay, that is the way we
Okay.
should understand.
Very nice,
Otherwise,
Prabhuji.
then that's why Prabhupada said purity is the force.
Yes,
The
Prabhuji.
more one is pure, their words will become more empowered. Like
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
that. Hare Krishna. Okay. Yes. Sham Sundaranand Prabhu. I will unmute you and you can share what you exactly meant by giving some examples.
Thank you very much
Dandat Prabhu.
for the nice discussions, and it has been very helpful and understanding and diving deep. Uh, Actually, my point does not too much vary from what I already spoke in past discussions.
Mhm.
What I meant to say, what I meant to ask here is, when we are dealing in this world, we definitely have to face two realities, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
one is the shastra,
Mhm.
the text of the text, and then
Mhm.
the spirit of the text. Definitely, we have to understand, and
Mhm.
then the implementation part comes also. For that, also there are examples in the shastra. So the very
Mhm.
fact that Raghugana here has seemingly opposed what Jadbharat has to say,
Mm.
as that he is not. I am not this body, but I am in this body. So I have to follow
Mhm.
the this rule of this body.
Correct.
So that definitely applies to every aspect of life, whether it be
Yes.
spirituality, whether it be
Yes.
daily existence in this world. See,
Correct.
just for example, in
Mm.
I just what I was trying to say, when we serve prasadam in the temple,
Mhm.
so we want to have an orderly line so that
Mhm.
gets prasad, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
if we give if we don't impose any so-called, I mean, definitely the pure devotees and those who are cultured, they don't
Mhm.
cross the line and so. But
Yeah.
generally, we observe that the behavior is like everyone wants their prasadam to be served first. So
Yeah.
naturally, there will be chaos. So there is need for orderliness in this world. So that's
I'm not.
exactly my point.
No. Yeah. I agree with it quite definitely. I agree with it definitely, and I am not denying that fact at all.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So definitely, see the conversation between Rahuguna and Jadabharata.
Hmm.
How we should perceive this conversation is very important.
Actually, before you say that, I just am saying the same, conversation happening between Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna
Mhm.
also presented a similar set of arguments before Krishna in the first chapter, and
Correct.
Krishna has countered all of them from the higher level. He did not
No.
touch. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
From progressively higher levels.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So when he presents something, he says,
Mm,
okay, if you are a Sakama Karma Yogi, then this is the level. If you are a Nishkama Karma Yogi, then this is the level. If you are a Jnana Yogi, then this is the level. If you are an Ashtanga Yogi, this is the level. If you are a Karma Mishra Bhakta, this is the level. If you are a Jnana Mishra Bhakta, this is the level. If you are a Shuddha Bhakta, this
mm,
is the level. So identify where you are and
mm,
apply accordingly whatever instruction is for you according to your adhikar. That is what Krishna said,
mm. Okay. So, but
isn't it?
Jadbharat is directly telling him the highest level today.
No, Jadabharat is not. See, the purpose of Jadabharata and the purpose of Raguna are different.
Okay.
Okay. That is why this sounds like a very discordant conversation
Mm,
where Rahuguna is talking from his perspective and Jadabharata seems to be talking from a whole different perspective where there seems to be a lack of empathy from Jadabharata's side in responding to Rahuguna's questions. Okay.
mm,
But it is
mm,
not like that.
mm,
Huh?
mm, mm,
Rahuguna is trying to, uh, at least in the beginning, seek some empathy and some validation of the the of the platform in which he is acting.
mm,
But Jadabharata is thinking in a different way. I am not here to validate his actions. His actions are very much valid from the conventional reality standpoint.
mm,
But I am here to pull him to the transcendental platform.
mm,
So we should not take Jadabharata's answers as defeating Rahuguna's argument. Rather, we should see Jadabharata's answers as a concerted effort to pull Rahuguna to the platform to transcendental reality, where if Rahuguna comes to that level, he will not stop acting on the platform of conventional reality, but he will act on the platform of conventional reality with the understanding and assimilation of transcendental reality. That is the whole conversation. So therefore it seems like, so we don't have to take like stance as to no, is Jadabharta recommending giving up conventional reality? No. For that we have to understand what is the purpose, what is the goal that Jadabharta has in his mind. That is why in the beginning, the very beginning of this chapter, the very first verse commentary only, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes it very clear. He makes it very clear that Jadabharata, when he was dealing with his family members, his brothers, seeing that they were in Rajoguna, he wanted to show mercy to them by giving them darshan for a prolonged period of time. And when he met with the thieves and the dacoits who were trying to kill him, understanding that they were predominantly in Tamoguna, he wanted to show mercy to them by allowing them to see his form and also by allowing them to be directly killed by their object of worship, Mother Kali. But when he saw Rahuguna, he immediately understood that here is a person who can benefit by who can benefit by mercy in the form of good instructions through which I can pull him to the platform of spiritual reality. Okay, so here is not so this is not a conversation where Jadabharata is telling Rahuguna that you're wrong, and Rahuguna is telling, no, how can you say I'm wrong? I'm right. And then Jadabharata says, you fool, you're definitely wrong. Okay, it seems like the conversation tries to take a shape as if you see it very superficially, it looks like a kind of blame and defense. Okay, Jadabharata blaming and Rahuguna defending. But from Jadabharata's perspective, this is not the purpose with which he is conversing. Okay, Jadabharata, being a very exalted soul, knows the validity of Rahuguna's arguments. Okay, but he is defeating them for a different purpose. His purpose, the purpose of Jadabharata, is reclamation of the soul Rahuguna. That is the goal. Okay, so his goal is not to trivialize conventional reality. Okay, if he wanted to trivialize conventional reality, he would have trivialized it and spoken the same thing to his brothers. He would have spoken the same thing to the dacoits or anyone else whom he would meet in the road, but he did not do it. He is doing it here to Rahuguna because he understands that Rahuguna is a fit recipient to receive his mercy in the form of good instructions for bhakti. So we have to see it in that level. Okay. Otherwise, whatever argument Rahuguna is presenting are very valid arguments. They're perfectly valid arguments. So therefore, as you rightly said, that do we have to completely trivialize conventional reality? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. So we definitely have to follow, certain organization is needed. We have to organize certain things. We cannot trivialize. And Prabhupada, you see our predecessor acharyas like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, they have not neglected conventional reality. But they have used it as a medium to communicate transcendental reality. Okay. In the case of Jadabharata, it is Jadabharata's personal assessment of Rahuguna and an understanding of what would best suit him, considering the amount of time that he had to give to Rahuguna. So that is how we
mm,
should see this whole episode, rather
mm,
than
mm,
Jadabartha blaming and
mm,
Rahuguna defending.
mm.
It is not like that.
So yeah, there are so many aspects, as you rightly said, that the time is also involved, and the person is involved, the adhikar is involved. So many
Yeah,
aspects are, and it is a very personalized instruction, right,
yeah,
for
yeah,
Rahugana.
yeah.
Uh, and this comes to this one question now follow up, like now we understand what is the standard from the
Mhm,
ultimate reality perspective, and we
mhm,
also understand where we are
mhm,
in this world, in this
mhm,
so-called conventional reality perspective,
mhm,
and now the practical application, because there are two ends of the pendulum. For example, I can say that, okay, I am having certain, short, I don't know whether I call it shortcomings, or, okay, some desires to enjoy in this world. And
mhm,
but the scripture says, no, that is binding. So I
mhm.
know that we fall in that 11th canto verse somewhere, like, I know that it is, you know, uh, yes, it
Yata
will give
Shraddho
me
Mattata so
misery.
Nirvinna
Yeah, it will
Sarvakarmasu.
give me
Yeah.
misery. All those things I know, but
Mhm,
still I definitely want to eat that poison only, because I have not yet developed the taste for the higher reality.
yeah.
Parandrashta did not happen, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
in in this case, now what is the practical application of these principles, both of these principles, not only the ultimate reality but also the
Mhm.
conventional realities? Even both are springing up from the shastras only, right?
Yeah. So now, okay, I have 1 minute or 1.5 minutes. I will take 2 minutes to just
Hmm,
touch the beginning of this. If
hmm,
needed, we will extend this conversation tomorrow.
yeah. So,
Okay. So the point is that, see, to say that the path of bhakti
hmm,
also gives provision for gradual development.
hmm,
The principles of the practical application principles for a person at the stage of asakti and a person at the stage of adav shraddha are not the same. The kind
hmm,
of provisions that are given for a person at the stage of asakti and for a person at the stage of anartha nivritti are not the same. So this is what is covered in the principle of niyamagraha. So niyamagraha does not just mean that if you are at the level of bhakti, you follow only the bhakti rules, but even on the platform of bhakti, you perform those which are prescribed according to your level of development at the stage of bhakti. So if a person is really struggling, okay, then there are gradual methodologies which are given to gradually handhold him and raise him to the next greater level. But it is within the purview of Bhakti Shastras. Okay.
hmm,
So it
hmm,
is not like for a struggling person, the provision is given in the Dharma Shastras, and for a
hmm.
perfectly situated person, the provision is given in the Bhakti Shastras. It is not like that. Okay.
Okay.
The
Hmm,
provision for adhikar based,
hmm,
or when I say adhikar, different levels of Bhakti adhikar based guidelines are given
hmm,
in Bhakti Shastras only. Okay. If you
hmm,
remember, I mean, I don't
hmm,
know if you remember, we
hmm,
have discussed this many times. And in
hmm,
the recent class that I gave
hmm,
in Chowpatty
hmm.
on the relevance of Vairagya on the
Yeah.
plan on the path of Bhakti, I've
Yes.
touched upon this, practicing
Hmm,
Bhakti on the
hmm,
level of succumbing,
hmm.
practicing Bhakti on the level of doubttailing, then
Yes.
how that bridges one to come to the level of Yukta Vairagya, and how
Yeah.
by practice of Yukta Vairagya one naturally progresses to the level of spontaneous devotional service. And
Yes.
all these principles are given
Hmm,
within the purview of Bhakti Shastras. So
hmm,
that is the
hmm,
point. Of course, I will have to
hmm,
pause here,
hmm,
and we can, if
hmm.
needed, continue this discussion tomorrow, but I don't
Yeah.
wish to take time from the next session.
Oh,
So
thank you.
we will pause here, and we will, if you have further discussion points, questions, we can definitely take it tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you.